It's 4:20 on a Sunday, and that means that you're tuned in to the Activist Hour. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. My name's Tom. You can find me at cannabisindustrylawyer.com, and I'm going to bring on my co-host, Miggy, and also our guest, Chris Martin. How are you doing, guys?
Good.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Miggy, you brought Chris on. Why don't you give some backstory?
Yeah, so I know Chris' story as being a Arizona prisoner. I used to live in Arizona, Chris, and Tucson, and people ask me when I out here in Washington, do I regret? Because right when I left is when medical happened out there, and I was like, no, because Washington scene was quite lovely out here. But you were part of the early medical in Arizona days, and that's kind of how you got caught up in some bullshit, right? I believe you had Zonka bars.
Yes, sir.
And then
I was one of the first edible companies out here.
And you're a big proactive with Normal. I know Stacy Theus, you guys would be doing the cannabis, big supporter. Again, you've been supporting our efforts raising money for the past 3 years at Hemp Fest, which is, with donations. Last year we raised $1,500 with Tom. He was there present with us. And
awesome.
What else? How did your story go down that you got raided and eventually served 6 years in goddamn prison?
Well, I'll tell you, I was diagnosed with Crohn's a long time ago. And with Crohn's comes a lot of medical issues. I've been through Humira, balisalicide, all these things, experimental drugs, and all this crazy stuff. And as I realized that my body was dying, I had to make a change. I'd always used cannabis. Cannabis had always been a part of my life, just as a smoking, social thing anyway. But as I started to read and study and eat it and make RSO and really help myself heal, I realized that, everyone needs to do this. So 2010, Arizona went legal with medical, and my wife and I both became caregivers. We were allowed to grow 12 plants each, but there was a catch. You could only have 2.5 ounces of finished product. So
that doesn't make any sense.
Nice little ambiguous law there, trick bag and get you caught up.
You were in Arizona, right?
Yes, sir.
So, Arizona is one of the most, if not the most notorious state for the ballot initiative gone wrong, in the sense that in 1996 or 1997, the people of Arizona actually passed medical cannabis, but the legislature didn't like it. And so it failed in 2003, right?
Yes, sir.
And then they finally got it in 2010.
Right. We finally got it in 2010, yet a dispensary didn't open until 2013. So we were
when you have it's not the legislature that's doing it. The people are telling the legislature what to do, and they're like, meh.
When we get to it. Exactly.
When we get to it, right.
Arizona's got a huge Republican fear mongering. I know Tucson at least. And Chris, what part of Arizona are you in? Because I know in Tucson, the cartels had a heavy hand in just operations.
Well, I got busted in Yavapai County, so I was underneath Sheila Polk's watch.
Oh,
I was the perfect, what would my lawyer say, babe in the woods. I was that kid that was in the gray areas, starting to push the envelope about the law and the rules, but also a very easy target to be made an example out of. So when my wife and I harvested our 24 plants, we had well close to 25
You mean you
pounds.
were over the 2.5 ounces with 24 plants?
I don't know how I did it. It must have been all those books I read.
No.
So that law pretty much sets you up for failure. Fuck.
Absolutely. So we turned it into an edible. Instead of just slinging it on the street, I started making edibles out of it to where we could go to collectives, compassion clubs, anybody where there were patients that were looking for meds and good meds, we could get it to them. So that's how I met Stacy. That's how I got involved with a lot of organizations, because they pointed me in the right direction where to put these meds. And as soon as we got busted, it just kind of started the downward spiral from that point.
Was that the Zonka bars?
That's the Zonka bars, yes, sir.
Yeah, without divulging the secret recipe, can you describe what's in a Zonka bar?
Yeah, we have 6 different flavors of Zonka bar, and we have half of them that are made with distillate, the other half that are made like the old school days back with decarbed keef, where you still got the plant flavor and matter and full spectrum and all that good stuff. But now we do truffles and all kinds of neat stuff too that we've added to the menu. Zonka Bar was kind of that representative, the spin-off of Wonka. We were all sitting around a table stoned one day, and I had a sweet tart label that was laying on the table. When they ripped it open, the W turned into a Z, and literally we were like, "Oh shit, there we are! Let's go do this." And the next day, I was at Michael's buying candy molds, trying my luck at the edible game.
You're down though, because you said you got busted after medical.
Yeah, after medical. So we had been in business for a year. We were getting all our products out and known to the public, where we had a lawyer, we filed an LC, we had a business set up. We were trying to follow the books the way it went. There was a couple things going on, crooked law in Arizona with a really crooked county attorney, but I also shook hands with the wrong person. A guy approached me by the name of Todd James.
The wrong person. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna curse. What the fuck is this, like the Sopranos or something? It's like, oh, you shook hands with the wrong guy. That's we're sending you to prison. What the fuck? This is capitalism or not?
Well, no, I actually had a partner. I had a partner that I thought had the same vision that we had, and that was helping patients. Yeah, of course, we all want to make a little money. We got to pay our bills and our staff and that stuff. But this guy took it a step farther. He wanted to not only sell our products outside the lines and the laws of the way it went, but he kept all the cash. He embezzled all the money. He didn't want to give anything that was owed to us back to us. So as we're draining,
in business Yiddish, the word is ganef. He was a ganef. All right.
Absolutely. He was a piece of garbage. He was, I'd noticed that 1,000 pieces were missing in a week. So I'd sit him down. What's going on? Where's the product? Oh, I'm consigning it. We've got new dispensaries open. You're on net 30. As soon as they get rocking, you're going to get paid. So, of course, it sounds reasonable. I'm down with that. As long as we got some revenue coming in, we're good. Flash forward 4 months later, I've got nothing. I'm out of all my flour. I'm out of all my product. I've got no money. And all of a sudden now we can't even access our own bank account that we've opened up with this guy. Huge red flag. So we start.
Well, yeah, but and I'm sorry about being that large, but that's going to also start tipping off, because if you had a bank, I mean, if you're in the industry 10 years ago, that's really ballsy, because that was when the industry was fresh. And so if you're in the industry and somebody else is screwing around, people are just going to shut you down, man. Or,
well, when we got into it in the beginning, it was actually less ballsy then than it is now, because even the banks didn't know what to say no to.
Yeah.
So if you're starting off as an LLC that's a catering company and you're running your business under it, nobody knows nothing. And it's not that we're trying to bend the rules or anything. There were no rules. We didn't know what the rules were.
Yeah.
Nobody said that you're going to walk in there and get a bank account. We know the rules that federally that there's no way you're going to get that approval. So we just said, screw it. We own a catering company. We're going to run everything under the catering company, live it that way, and we'll get paid. The main problem is the guy never brought the money back. He took the money and kept going. So I threatened to pull my company and said, look, we're not partners anymore. I'm done. I'm shutting this down. And within 3 days, we were raided. What I didn't know is that guy had taken $1,000 worth of my candy, drove up 2 hours up the mountain to Prescott in my backyard, and made a sale with an undercover cop that he had been warned about twice.
Oh,
so we kept getting emails, where detectives try to reach out and act like they're undercover and you can't pick them out. Every email that.
Do they ever order a very strange amount of?
Oh yeah,
so you're right.
Anyone that'll call you and
1 grams of cannabis, please. Yeah.
Yes, and that's exactly how the email read. It was so red flaggish, it was stupid. I didn't even think I needed to sit down and explain it, but I did. I grabbed everybody, said, hey, look, this is the kind of shit we're trying to avoid. This is why we follow the rules. And my partner decided that it was more important to go make the profit on it. So he emails the guy back behind everybody's back, drives up the hill, makes the sale, and gets busted on camera selling to the cops. Essentially within 4 days, that means they come and raid me because this dude points at me and tells them that I'm the one that made the call for him to go make the sale.
And what's unfortunate is this dickhead's still out there, right? I mean,
he is.
Yeah, it's a problem with this is why I kind of have small appreciation for Washington's recreational I-502, because what that does is give you guys rights. You who decide to be in the business of run a store, run an edible, contracts, and all this other stuff. At least you have some recourse. There's still debates. There's a security company out here that I think it's out here, but they decided to deny their employees overtime because they were working with cannabis, which they're like, well, it's still federally illegal, so we're not obligated to by the law because for your overtime. Whereas in Washington, as a Washington state citizen, you're covered. You got protections. This is some bullshit. I know this guy's still out there. Didn't he try while you were locked up to pass off Zonka bars too? Like rebrand that shit?
Yes. So story gets even weirder because I decided to fight the case. I didn't sell to cops. I didn't get us in trouble. I own the business. But next thing I know, I'm sitting on trial for 15 felonies, looking at over 100 years in prison because these guys want to tag me with gang charges because I rode in a motorcycle club and everything else. Well, not to mention that this guy's attorney and him were both involved on the whole setup from not just the plea bargain, but all the way down to the LLC. So when I got busted, I owned Zonka Bars LLC. The state came in, shut that LLC down. They seized all our property. They shut our businesses down. I get back out on bond and I open up Zonka Gear. And that is another LLC that I just tried to stay in business with, a way that I could stay relevant, a way I could feed my family and keep things rolling. Well, within about 1.5 years of fighting my case, I get a phone call from my brother out in Virginia. And he says, hey, man, I think you need to check your LLCs out online. So we go to the corporate commission, I check it out, and all of a sudden there's a whole new LLC out there called Zonka Meds. I click on it. It just so happens it's my co-defendant, it's my partner that I hired as the chef when we got raided, and it's their defense attorney.
Trademark violation. Just I need that brand, and I've taken it.
Yeah.
I also want the corporate protection, so I'm filing for an LLC. I mean, it's just
right. And they filed it through. They went through Denmark. They tried to do an overseas setup. They tried to trademark the whole thing. I mean, you name it. They went. The problem was that they weren't very smart, obviously, but they trademarked the wrong name. They trademarked Zonka ''D because for some reason they thought that was going to be my next move, my next branding move, and they went and they trademarked that. So when I got out of prison. While I'm in prison, I'm fighting this thing. I'm telling the state bar, like, hey, take a look at this stuff. How can I go to prison for being the owner if this guy's on the LLC as the owner? There's something wrong here. Either he needs to be doing the time or I want my company back and this dude needs to go away. The state bar responded with me and said, look, if your judge rules that this gentleman did something illegal, we will take a look at it. The problem with that is that guy's been out of the court hearing for over 1 year. I'm already gone and in prison, and he's been long gone. So why would the judge rule anything?
Stealing your brand and making money, and
Well, I didn't know how bad it was either, because when I got out of prison, I had a gentleman come into the grand opening of one of my hemp stores, and he approached me, pretty vigorously, come running through the door, very adamant and animated, and I'm kind of stepping back like about to swing on the guy. I don't even know who this dude is. And he tells me, hey, man, me and this Todd guy, I know him. He ripped me off, too. We should compare notes. So we start chatting a little bit. And he just so happened he was the owner of Hempful Farms. He tells me that Red ripped him off for like $9 million. And I mean, this huge thief. Wow. It went down to him. But what got me was the kid says, hey, man, I have all your molds and all your wrappers. Wow. And I'm like, how do you have my shit? The cops raided me. They took everything. He goes, no, Red tried to replicate everything you were doing after he re-LLC'd it. So now that we've got everything done.
It's your original bars.
Yeah, this guy, he overnight ships me all my molds and all my wrapping. So I have all my stuff that this guy tried to steal from me, which, I mean, it's so full circle. I couldn't even make this stuff up. Like, I'm not that smart.
Well, I mean, you had to go through the guy's darn trials and tribulations. You had to serve time. And then, you got to get your brand back, man.
Well,
that's amazing.
Let's talk about that time too, Chris, because I mean, like, that time was not a resort time, man. First off, with your Crohn's, I know how many times people don't realize that we had a Weldon Angelos on our first Sunday session episode because our activists, Sunday, this is something we believe in, right? This is why we devote our Sunday
session, the congregation.
This is
awesome.
But Weldon was talking about how the guards were so rough to him, right? I mean, these guards think everybody's a bad guy, an asshole. Craig Cecil, he needs insulin, and you with your Crohn's, I forget what medication you needed, but I know they were fucking with you. And then also in that time frame, how many times you saw your wife? It was like 3 times in 6 years, dude. That's fucking
because I was a gang member, I got STG'd, which means they placed
STG'd.
security threat group. So it means that you're, it's as if I were a Blood or a Crip or even an ISIS member. If I pose a threat to the guards, the inmates, or anyone else because of gang affiliation, then they have the right to raise your PI score, which places you in a higher maximum security or medium security yard. So because of the
prison is basically just like math puzzles to a certain extent. It's like, oh, put him in this box over here. It's really secure.
Well, you know why that is? It's because of how much money they get to claim it takes to house you. So the more tags you get, the more money they get to house you. And think about that for a second. If I'm a gang member, then that means I have to be escorted everywhere. I have to be in my own housing unit. That requires, probably 70 grand a year to house me there, because now
right there, like, this is stuff that, nobody else is broadcasting this to people so that they can learn the seedy underbelly of this drug war, where it's just going to put that money in that guy's pocket right over there, and that's it. They don't care about you. They don't care about anything. They know that according to this particular statute, that federal check's right there, and I'm getting that check.
Well, and I can tell you, I tell people I had the luxury, quote unquote, of going to prison in 2 different decades. And I really mean that facetiously, but I can tell you there are some obvious differences. When I went to prison in 1995 for a joint playing college baseball, I did 3 years. And when you do time back in the 90s, it was about reform. It was about rehabilitate. It was about, you had a job, you had keys to your own room if you were on a minimum yard, you had counseling, you had college, you had ways that made you still feel human, and you could take care of your family at that point. Now, when you go to prison, flash forward 20 years later, 30 years later, you're in a warehouse. You're in a warehouse that looks like Walmart without shelves in it. There's 500 people in there fighting over 6 toilets. It has absolutely nothing to do with reform and rehabilitate. There's no classes. There's no college. There's no jobs. There's heroin. There's drugs that are cheaper in prison than they are on the streets. And the prison knows that. Everyone in there knows that.
Because I thought that's what the whole stupid embarrassing yourself thing. It's bars, it's everything. Or they just,
well, I can tell you this. When guards are paid $13 an hour to house a bunch of assholes that treat them like assholes, they give 2 shit what goes down. And if I were to happen to walk up to somebody and go, hey, you want to make 30 grand on the slide? I bet you we could figure out a deal. I'm not saying every guard in there's crooked. I'm not saying, but if you throw the right dime down there to get something done, you're going to get it done. That's how it's going to go. Those guards don't make any money. They don't have that good of benefits. And what, they get free braces for 9 months? I mean, really, they don't have any.
They fix the gap in their teeth. Perfect.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yay. And next thing you know, they're bringing in dope or weapons or whatever. And not to mention, I mean, honestly, when our government figured out that it was cheaper to put illegal aliens in prison than it is pot offenders, pot's
profitable. Is that what they're doing? They need to lock up somebody because we have quarterly profits to make. I mean, this money's there. I book the fucking sale.
Well, the private prison thing, Chris, you were going to a private prison as well, because it's a state private prison, though.
I was in Geo. I was in a Geo private prison.
What's Geo?
And Geo is now it's something else. They've changed their name so many times, but that was the Geo group. That was one of the private prison groups that ran a lot of the prisons here in Arizona. The private prisons have a rule here on the books. They have a law wrote into the state law in Arizona, and I'm sure in many other states. If the prisons aren't 95% full, then they owe money. They have to pay for those empty beds. That doesn't come from anywhere but the taxpayer dollars. Yeah. Taxpayers cover those empty beds. So what happens to fill those beds? Bullshit laws. They write all these bullshit laws to make sure they fill that place up. And I can tell you, after the last 20 years of now going back to prison, it's half illegal alien. And that's sad because
it's a profit source for them. Make them a crime, just like with cannabis. It was make it a crime. I'll lock them up. I got the contract, so I'll just charge by the number of beds. Jesus fucking Christ, there should not be any profit margin in crime, especially at the governmental level where they're going to entrench this system. They had to lock up somebody. So
it's really sad. They walk the prisons. They bring in the investors. They bring in the shareholders.
Oh my God!
They'll have you. It's almost It's almost like you're in the zoo.
Yeah.
So and because I'm an old cat with an old number, I'm the one they call into the warden's office with all the other old guys that run shit. So they tell me, hey, look, man, if you tell everyone to be cool and keep everyone calm and have everyone make their bed unit and everything clean, we'll make sure we don't shake them down this week. So they're trying to break off deals. They're trying to break off deals with you because they know that they're bringing investors in. They're bringing shareholders through. I've never seen anything like it. When I was leaving prison this last time, just to prove what a racket this whole thing is, I refused to work for the prison. I told them absolutely not. I've got Crohn's. I wasn't going to build a prison. I'm not going to clean a toilet in a prison. I'm sorry. You drugged me here kicking and screaming. The last thing I'm going to do is cooperate.
Right.
But you had a license, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You had a license to do what you were doing. You had a shit partner that was just flagrantly flouting it, but you still had a license, man.
That's the downside. When we were sitting there, they changed the rule in Arizona prison system now. So if you make over $600, they 1099 you. You owe tax dollars on that money that they force you to make in prison.
I have like $2 an hour.
Yeah.
You're right. Not even $2 is a good job.
Oh my God!
Did you hear?
We're talking 10 cents.
Did you hear about the gosh darn prisoners in California getting time off for fighting the fires?
We have a fire crew here in Arizona, and the only downside about that whole situation is that they can't come out of prison and continue that job.
Yeah.
If they could come home and
oh God.
I mean, honestly, it's terrible pay. Those guys make $1 a day, and half that money goes to them to house. But you know what? When you're in prison and you can leave that yard and go out into the fresh air, into the woods and do work, you'll do whatever, and I'll do it for free.
Yeah.
The problem is I can't do it as a job once I come home.
Yeah, that's crazy because I know even in a civilian life, that's a big paying job, man. Fighting those fires, the smoke jumpers and whatnot, and the fact that you're paying guys $1 a day to risk their lives, and they can't use that as a skill learning set. That's some bullshit. Hey, Chris, didn't they also? You were located near your house, and then for some genius reason of I think just fucking with you, they relocated you. Isn't that true?
Yeah, so the way it worked is because of the STG, because of the gang thing, they don't tell you where you're going in prison anyway. But once we got shipped out, they said because my wife was a co-defendant, we weren't allowed to visit. We weren't allowed to have phone calls, which it's against our constitutional right. I'm allowed to associate with my family. My wife had already completed probation and was done with all of her court stuff. They just wanted to poke and prod and see what was going on. So next thing I know, I land in Yuma. I'm as far away from anybody in Arizona as I can. There are no visits on it. The first person to come visit me was when I went to Winslow, and that was Dennis Bouvier with POW 420. He came out and visited me and just let me know, hey, you're not forgotten, man. We still know you're here, even though we can't see or hear from you. So
yeah, let's not forget that your wife wasn't allowed to visit you because of that whole co-defendant bullshit. Like regardless of where they put you.
The prison played a game. The prison kept telling her that she had a warrant. But whenever she'd pay the $15 to go get her fingerprints, there's no warrant. The chick, she just completed probation. They're not going to let her off probation if she's got a warrant. Everybody knows that shit. So I started pushing the issue from the inside out. I had an attorney get a hold of my CO3 and tell her, look, you're violating my rights to associate with my family. I want to see my wife. And with 60 days left, they approved her. So I had 2 months left on my sentence. And honestly, I really didn't want her to come at that point because I wanted to jump in the car and go. Like, man, I've waited 2 years to see you,
Okay.
But no.
How long did you serve, Chris?
This sentence I did 2 years. The first one I did 3.
Man.
The first one was for a joint. So
real hard. A fucking joint in the 90s was worth 3 years of your life. That is complete bullshit. I can't believe that type of violation.
I was in a drug-free school zone. I played college baseball. I got caught with a joint. It was before they had all these people fighting for people's rights.
That remnants of the federal dollars and that federal money, the student loan money and shit. So they had that drug-free America crap. And then so they're buying it. It's to the monies, guys. And so because of that, then people are like, oh, no, we need that money. Put them away for 3 years. Bad kid with a joint.
Yeah, and then because you got out early opposed to you didn't serve full term, right, Chris?
I got out with an early kick. I got 90 days off early for good time, which is something they do if you attend their mandatory classes. And I got to tell you, the mandatory classes are a joke. The first one they send you to is supposed to be a re-entry class, and they talked about the race riots and Watts in the 90s. I mean, literally, it was almost like they were stirring up this racial tension just to see how people would respond. It had nothing to do with re-entry. The second class you have to go to is called Thinking for a Change. Now, I don't know what kicks you in the balls worse, being in prison, but having some CO3 telling you how dumb you are after you've already gotten there.
Like, just from the way they name that, they're like, hey, you clearly don't think. So
yes.
Have you considered thinking for a change? Oh.
Yes. So the CO3 obviously saw how pissed off I was that I had to take this mandatory class or I wouldn't come home early anyway. But I was also mad at the whole organization and the name. So she asked me, Chris, what's the problem? And I looked right at her and I said, can I borrow your pen? I stood up and I crossed the A out and I handed her pen back. And she's like, well, what was that all about? I said, well, you just planted a positive seed, thinking for change. Yeah. Like, you just let these guys know that there's hope in here. There's a possibility that they can do something good with what's going on.
Rehabilitation.
Right. Reform, help, positivity.
Isn't that the whole point? Isn't that our criminal justice system's thesis? Like rehabilitation?
Well, think about that, Tom, honestly. If that's really working and that's what we're doing, then why are we building more private prisons?
Well, that's the thing. Look at it like, maybe, I should do some Googling right now to get the chart of like, well, let's look at our prison population over time and what is the trend in that data? And do we feel any safer? Is this really good? Or is this just some business out there sees a government contract and they're like, hot lunch, I'm going to get that money.
Well, what do we fill our prisons with? We fill them with immigrants, and we're filling them with drug addicts. We're not treating addiction, and we have this one law that calls everybody a criminal.
We're criminalizing humans because they're over a line.
There you go.
That is a crime. Oh, no. It's just then put them out. I mean, I understand that. Don't arrest them and put them into a detention center for an extended period of time.
Well, the funny thing is the prison knows how it works. There's certain groups of people that run the drugs a little bit better than the other groups because they're better at it and they're made there. So when they come in, they come with the drugs. Yeah. Everyone knows how the whole system works, and it's been going on well before time. If it was that simple, then why didn't they stop it? It's because it's bureaucratic. Without drug offenders and reoffending and committing more crimes, then how in the hell are they going to keep those places full? And I watched the guy go in on his fourth dirty UA and talk to the captain, and the captain told him, hey, man, why don't you have your dealer send in the heroin that isn't so strong so maybe you can pass one of these tests? That came from the captain. I'm standing right there in the hallway going, what? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I've never seen a basketball-sized ball of heroin, guys. And I ran a motorcycle club for almost 3.5 years. I've never seen a ball of heroin that big in my life.
Just for some of our viewers, including myself, that aren't familiar with motorcycle clubs or basketball sizes of heroin, motorcyclists, they like the heroin.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Well, I just, when you got a guard joking about seizing one of those on a prison yard, I'm just mind blown, man. I'm mind blown. Like, I've been in the underbelly for a long time and I don't see shit like that. But I'm sitting in prison and I hear guards laughing about seizing that. It blows my mind because you can't tell me that can't be stopped. You can't tell me that nobody knows that this is happening and it's just continual, repetitive.
Well, it's like, why can't I go into any major city in the United States and find any fucked up thing I want to find? It's because the people who are protecting us know that shit's out there, but they keep it contained and are happy that, all right, if you go to this one avenue, this one street, whatever, you get all the hookers and blow you want. But if you go one street over, we're going to start arresting people. What the fuck, We're not in the business of actually trying to make America better. Putting you in jail for goddamn 2-3 years just for trying to be a good citizen. That's just bullshit.
From a joint to a licensed operator, and they're still locking you up. But we have a lot of work to do when it comes to criminal justice reform, but let's talk about like brighter things. What are you doing now, man?
Well, since the prison trip, it's been pretty crazy. I wrote a book while I was in prison. I wrote two. One book is called Convicted Creations. It's a cookbook. It's prison recipes, which you can also see on YouTube at Convicted Creations. We've done 14 episodes of a cooking show. where honestly, it started off as a joke. We were just a bunch of guys sitting around laughing about tamales made out of Doritos or ice cream in the dryer. And it turned into an amazing show where people come out of prison. We kind of counsel our way through the 4-minute segment. And we brag about what we did instead of feel sorry for ourselves. So it's more of a pick me up and a positive to show that, hey, look, we can do anything with what we've been dealt. It's not always a negative.
That's all. So you guys were making YouTubes while in prison?
No, sir. No, sir. I wrote the book in prison, but when I came home, we published the book, and my agent saw it and said, man, you need to turn that into a cooking show. And literally, I bring home cannabis inmates or inmates that were in there for, non-violent, non-repetitive stuff. And I put them on TV, and I try to show them the positive side. Like, look, because a lot of times when you come out of prison, you're stuck with that mentality. I'm a felon. My life sucks. I can't get a job. And you bury yourselves before we get a chance. I want to show them that that's not necessarily the case. You can come out, we can have a little fun, laugh at ourselves for the mistakes we made or got caught doing, and still move forward. And we're here for each other, even though we're not in prison anymore.
Hey, Chris, you seem like a pretty tough guy to me too. I mean, and again, we'll talk back again because you're doing so many awesome, amazing things nowadays. But like, what's the attitude correction? I mean, first off, you went in for a joint. It's all weed related, so it's all bullshit no matter what. But I can imagine, like, honestly, dude, I know I'd be a little bitch in prison. Like, I'd be like, oh shit, this shit's getting real, way too real for me, dude. What was your attitude correction? Because I mean, we have it where you get shot at, you go into a fight outside, no big deal. I can go to a hospital. You get a staph infection in goddamn bars, you might lose a leg. What is your mentality at that point where you're like, these are some real bad motherfuckers. Let me just try and, because you had your wife and your kids. That was your goal at the end of the day. What kept your sanity throughout all this shit, man?
Well, lucky for me, I grew up in group homes and foster homes as a kid. So I kind of had an idea how this all worked.
Yeah.
And going to prison at 19, you learn real quick how this rolls. Luckily, prison's built on a hierarchy. And because I'm an older cat now and I'd already done some time with an older number and I knew how it went and I had good paperwork that didn't, I didn't rape kids or beat women or crazy crap like that. It wasn't difficult for me, not to mention I'm 6'1", 250. I mean, not a bunch of people come running at me all the time, but it happens. The good part is I've got a little history. So, unfortunately, I don't want to brag about it, but I know how this goes. So I could walk in there. A kid walks up and wants to see my paperwork. I could jam him up harder than he could jam me. And when this old dude comes to hit me up and I'm 10, 15 years older than him, it's like, oh, back off the old timer. You know what I mean?
Well,
we got a question from comment from the audience. Pyramid 7 wants you to post some more videos. So get back in the kitchen, man.
We're actually wrapping up, getting ready to start filming for season 2. So
nice.
I believe the second weekend in December, we're going to be filming at Hempful Farms in Arizona. So if you're interested in getting on, just email Trey@wecrushthebox.com and we'll get you all linked up and ready to film. We love doing it. Honestly, it was completely a joke. I never thought anybody in the world would even watch the stuff. But to my surprise, like 20,000 people a month Googled prison food.
Now, also with Convict Creations, you also sell like prisoners' artworks, right?
Yeah. So what I started was another program called Coloring Books for Convicts. My wife's amazing. She sent me coloring books while I was in prison, which I laughed at as a president of a motorcycle club. I didn't do a whole lot of coloring in my day. But you'd be surprised that when you throw on some Tool and your headphones and you sit at your desk and you focus, it really puts your head in a good spot when you're in a bad place. And what's funny is I had other quote unquote STG members, MS-13 and other gang members on the same yard that started noticing what we were doing with the coloring and sending them home and posting them and getting them. People were auctioning them off on Facebook, which is crazy because I didn't draw it. It's just colored. I stayed between the lines, but dispensaries are paying $300 for it. So we're like, I felt guilty. I didn't want to take their money. So I took the money.
Man.
I bought more coloring books and I just handed them out to everybody involved. Next thing I know, it blew into hobby craft. So I started selling their, their jewelry boxes and their motorcycles, and it's all nonprofit. So we make sure that the money goes on the books of the inmate and lets them take care of their families or commissary or whatever they can do. We just try to show them that they're human. Yeah, some people in there doing 15 to life or more. I mean, it's a scary thing, but I want to show them that they're not forgotten, that, just because we're not in prison, we're not thinking about them.
Yeah.
They're very much loved. And I know what it did for me, man. I got a nickname of Hollywood in prison because I got so much mail. They'd come through by my bed and drop stacks down, and people look at me like, who is this guy? And I'm like, who am I? I have no idea. This is crazy. But it's important. You'd look over and you'd see a guy that didn't get any mail, and I'm giving him my mail. Like, here, man, read this. Check this out. This is cool. It's just, it means a lot. I mean, after a year in prison, most people have lost everything. It's an old country song. The wives, the kids, everything's gone. Within about an average of a year, it seems like everyone starts to fade away. So you imagine those guys doing 3 or more, there's not a lot left for them, man. So
Yeah.
I just try to let them know that I kept my word. That means a lot in there too,
Oh, for sure. Well, I can imagine too the coloring alone for like a bunch of like, we live in this world where a lot of fucked up things happen to you as a kid or whatever, and then you become a fucked up adult, and then somebody from the outside reaches out to you and says, "Hey, here's a coloring book," and then you sit down, you focus, and you're like, you know what? Maybe I was an asshole. And then you start focusing, and then the meditation, and then the rehabilitation happens, But then at that point, because, I have some family that are kind of hard asses or bad asses, whatever. But then sometimes it's the most juvenile or most just artistic thing where you didn't expect that person to be like really giddy and a kid about things. You're just like, all right. There's a chance.
No. I had a dude that ran MS-13 in there come up behind me giggling like, hey, man, can I get that Aztec painting? Can I get that bird coloring book? I'm like, bro, you can have whatever you want, man. Like, absolutely. Like, of course you can have that. That's totally cool. But then, we'd post it. We'd put it out there. And never once do we put their name or their number and blast out what they're doing. I just put the artwork. And if you like the artwork, we take care of putting the money on their books. So there is no connection. No one has to worry about people running into their house to claim their artwork, or, it's not like that. It's more about love. It's funny because the prison would actually fight me on it. They would tell me that because of what we were doing, it was causing the outgoing mail to increase. They were shipping out more and more hobby craft, and they tried to make it illegal. They tried to say that it was against the rule for us to send out all the hobby craft. And all it did was create a friendship. It created where people got along. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't trying to fight over dumb shit. Yeah, hope. What are you without hope?
Yeah, and then those letters that you were gotten, I imagine a lot came from like the Human Solution, from the PO 420 group. Yeah. We let people know how important it is that people, strangers, like I haven't written to anybody in a while, but in the beginning when I was doing all my activism, core links, again, everything costs in prison. Yes. I had core links emails. I was talking to people, and then I found out throughout the course that it cost them money to just send a fucking email. Yeah. And I was like, how does this even work? And now what they're doing is they're doing video phone calls where you can't even fucking talk to your prisoner. You have to pay a video phone call. I've seen that in some places. So they're trying to nickel and dime you or the prisoner as much as they can. Shit, I totally
we started a nonprofit because of that. So I started zonkamiles.org, and it helps. It's a twofold nonprofit. So growing up a kid in the system, I feel like they groom you for prison. You turn 18, that's it. Okay, welcome to adulthood. You're 18. Figure it out. By 19, I'm in prison. I don't know any better. All I'm doing is selling weed, trying to make money and eat food. Like I'm not trying to break laws. But because of that, I feel like we've groomed children right into that system, especially if you're someone that's caught in the juvenile system with no family, no support. So the nonprofit is really geared to help in that aspect, but also drug offenders that are coming home. Because when you come home and you've gone to prison for weed, now look, I'm still on paper. My charges are from 2012. I got a year and a half left still on paper, which means $75 a month in probation fees. I paid $40 grand in fines and fees.
I'm not going to Arizona. Jiminy.
Oh, you know what's crazy? They gave me 1,000 hours of community service, and if I want to monetize that for $8 an hour, then I'm totally rehabilitated.
Oh shit!
Completely.
Equity legalization in Illinois and Arizona because you are checking like literally all the boxes. And
Yeah.
like this because you were arrested for a joint, which is like a minor offense, but you got 3 years because it's fucking Arizona. And here you'd be able to get a dispensary. That's
yeah. But again, not rehabilitation, it's revenue. They don't give a fuck about anything. They just want to generate Chris, I know in Tucson was the funnel for drugs coming through to the States. Like, I got old stories from cats that were like, yeah, man, concerts will start here with 3 tractor trailers and leave with 4. I mean, just all the drug running, but it's still the main funnel, Right. And when I first got out of the military and I was in Tucson, I couldn't find weed. It was the hardest time for me to find weed, but I could find coke everywhere.
Right.
And what it was laid out to me was the cartels encourage they control the weed coming through because we're making more money when it left the Arizona into the main states, and the coke was just is that kind of the same where you're at in that area?
Yeah, I'd imagine. I mean, I'm in Phoenix, so I'm only a couple hours to the west. It's really not that much of a difference. The good part is I think everyone's starting to get more of a quality and a taste for what they want. And nobody wants that brick shit anymore. So
I don't think anybody ever wanted the brick shit, Chris.
Yeah. We like to tell ourselves that, but it still streams across the border. So,
but I remember the worst brick shit that I ever smoked when I was like in college. It was one of those things that you'd roll a joint that looked like a cigar, and halfway through it, you just be looking at each other like, I can't smoke anymore.
Yeah.
Go away,
Or you smoke gas?
Smelled like pepper and ammonia.
Yeah. Oh man, it was the worst. It still is. Right. I mean, and so now with your being out with Convict Creations, you also got with Hempful Farms with your pets for pets.
Well, we haven't gotten to Hempful Farms yet. I mean, you're such an entrepreneur, consummate entrepreneur. So let's talk about Hempful Farms. What's that?
Hempful Farms is my hemp company. When I got raided, I couldn't go back into the cannabis business, so I was stuck trying to figure out how I'm going to pay bills and rent on just a chef salary. So I had a farmer call me up that was a good friend of mine and said, "Hey, Chris, I saw you get railroaded in court. I think we can help you on the hemp side of things." So he brought me some hemp CBD oil and said, "Why don't you try making some of the products that you used to make under the Zonka brand? See if it is something you'd be interested in." Well, after getting railroaded by my co-defendant, I wasn't looking for any new buddies, especially in this business space, but I needed to do something. I needed to feed my family too. So I took the CBD oil personally as a Crohn's patient, and within 3 weeks, realizing how much better I was feeling just on a daily basis between that and diet change, I was like, holy shit, everybody needs to try this stuff. So literally, I started selling everything, a couple products online, just as in support of my case. Like, hey, I need help with a lawyer. We need to sell some products. Let's get people feeling better. Kind of all in one gamut. Well, I got a call from an investor out of Kentucky. He fell in love with the name Hempful Farms and the logo and thought, man, that's a brilliant idea. We want to help you. We'd like to partner. So he wanted to come out and check out my facility. And at the time, I was making everything in my living room because I'm still out on $500,000 bond. So it's not like I had a facility or anything.
Yeah.
But I'm not a dumb guy. So I get on Craigslist. I find a catering kitchen that was going to be, available, and I rented it for the weekend. Nice. I set it up like a lab. I had these investors come out and walk through my kitchen, and they were in love. But half the space was a cafe, like set up perfect for a restaurant. And he says, so he goes, what are you planning on doing over here? And bam, Hempful Farms Cafe spit out of my mouth before I could even think it through. I was just like, hemp infused cinnamon rolls, breakfast, lunch, dinner, smoothies, coffee, and that's what he thought. He's like, dude, you're a genius. That's amazing. Here's $100,000 for 20% of your company. I was like, oh shit! I guess I just got an evaluation. And within weeks, we were moved into the space. We opened up the cafe and the retail store, but I was still fighting my case. So, I was pretending like I was building this huge empire, but not going to go to prison. And who
Yeah.
knew what the end result was going to be? Once I went to prison, my wife just couldn't keep the cafe open. So she asked me, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, Mama, the products got us here. People love what we do. As long as we stay seed the shelf and keep doing everything we do from the farm and in-house, they're going to love us. So literally, I got sentenced and went to prison. My wife and my son went on a show called The Marijuana Show in Denver, Colorado, which I got us on the show, but I couldn't be on the show because of my sentencing. So
Did
my wife
at least get like a written statement? Because that's like one of my favorite cutaways in The Simpsons is always when you have somebody like they cut away to somebody's picture and they're just reading. You guys remember those, like back in the day before everything was recorded on YouTube and live and streamed? That's something else, man. That is an amazing story.
So your wife had Hempful while you were locked up then?
She did. They went up there. My 9-year-old memorized the performa and the pitch deck, and he pitched it to Euflora, Green Star Bud. I mean, he landed a 500 dozen dog treat sale to Euflora, Jamie Perino. Like I was blown away. I didn't see any of it until I was released from prison in 2017. So almost 3 years later, I got to come home and see how it all went. But they nailed it. I mean, he made the sale. My wife would, rent out a kitchen on the weekends to go cook in. Whatever she could do to just keep us going. Literally, once we could talk on the phone with like 4 or 5 months left, we would spend our 1 15-minute phone call on a conference call with a dispensary trying to line out wholesale, trying to line out white label. Like, it was the craziest shit, one, to have a dispensary even agree to that with a felon sitting in prison.
Yeah.
But to have my wife have the wherewithal and the understanding to step into a role, it taught us two things. It taught me that I need to shut up, kick back, and realize that my wife's really important here, and she has a way bigger role than I've allowed her to have. And two, she's realized how important she is to this company, that it doesn't roll without her. It doesn't go without her. So it's really taught us a lot. And finishing the book and the documentary to really wrap all that up, just kind of, it put everything into perspective. We didn't think Hempful would ever open again. I went to prison, we closed it. I came home. That was the first thing we had the opportunity to do. Within 60 days, I had Hempful Farms right back open. I partnered with a company called American Green, who came out and gave me the money to open up my business, and it allowed me to partner with them to bring in the team to open up a grow. So now I run a 14,000 square foot grow. Well, my team does, and it allowed me to relaunch Zonka bars. All my edibles.
CBD hemp farm grow.
This is my cannabis grow, which I'm not on a license.
Back into the cannabis space.
Yeah, they fucked with the wrong dude, man.
Nice.
They just motivated me, honestly. You can't tell me no. I'm that 3-year-old that'll keep going.
Well, the law makes no sense, man. It's like
it doesn't.
It's like civil rights.
I still
can't keep a good grower down. You can't,
I still can't have a fingerprint card. I still can't technically be in there making a product. But you know what? I'm a team builder, and I'm a manager, and I'm a family guy. So I know how to organize things and put the right people in the right spot. We grow some of the top medicine in Arizona, and that's not just coming from me. You can read all the reviews. Zonka. We have a Zonka brand that if you go to ogzonka.com and check out everything we've got online. And then like Cannabis Cactus Magazine, the local magazine, they've showcased this on their spread for like the last 3 or 4 months. We've been really getting some rave reviews. OG Zonka, that's it.
Check it out, OG Zonka.
And I know you're also oh shit, man, you do so many things, dude.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling. I think that I'm an entrepreneur. You're just what do you do when you're not hustling? Yeah.
Oh man, honestly, I'm a grandpa. I got 2 grandbabies, 5 kids. Family's my life. I coach baseball. Anything I can do to just cherish these days being at home. That's one of the lessons learned from sitting in prison. And that's just idle time. It doesn't matter. Even though I wrote 2 books and I tried to start all these organizations, I still felt like I had so much idle time, which is dangerous. So I try to teach that to my kids now, that idle time is dangerous.
Yeah.
So I spend every moment with them, whether it be sports or working or football or baseball. Or right now we're just really promoting our documentary, Haters Make Me Famous. It just dropped October 22nd. It's on Amazon. It's on Barnes and Nobles. It's on, you name it. We got it on like 10 or 12 platforms right now.
What's it called?
It's called Haters Make Me Famous.
Haters Make Me Famous on Amazon.
You go to Amazon Prime and it's right there. Haters Make Me Famous. I believe it's on deep discount, Blue Moose, Barnes and Nobles, Best Buy. It's on quite a few platforms right now. I independently produced it. I paid for it out of my pocket, and really it was about everyone but me. It had nothing to do necessarily with my story, even though it's the Chris Martin story. But it's kind of for all those other people who don't have that platform or that ability to speak and be out there in front, because my story is just a replica of so many others that have already walked this, that haven't been able to
One
share.
of the reasons why Miggy and I really dedicate the time to do the activist hour like this, because this thing's been going on for so long. And
Yes, sir.
we can document, because could you imagine if Jack Hare and Perron and who else was really, really influential? I mean, we had Keith Strop on, which was fascinating, the founder of Normal. But even LaGuardia back in the 40s, when he was doing that types of studies to fight against that type of propaganda, it's great that we're able to have these types of interviews and discuss it with people that had to go through it firsthand. And we get to continue just to put that out there so that it's got to fall. I mean, and I think it's going to fall sooner rather than later. They're going to have a vote in Congress.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I agree with you. That's why I feel like it's very important that people that do have a voice that went through something like this, use it. You have to get out and speak. You have to get out and share the stories. We do a podcast that's called Haters Make Me Famous. It's based on the same show, and that's what it's about. I bring people on that have stories, that have the same type of situations. I've got Kirk Nermy that's going to be on my show in 2 weeks. He was Jody Arias.
Every Sunday, we get more people that have lived it, that have gone through it, and tell their stories. Because there's so much, because on Wednesdays we do our business show, and you could have easily been on the business show because of how much business you have going on. Again, Haters Make Me Famous on Amazon Prime now. That's pretty cool. But so many people kind of prioritize the business, and they don't remember the movement that gave birth to this, and they'll trivialize the stoner image, or they'll try to rebrand cannabis as something that's this wellness product that everybody loves. And we try to keep it real here on the activist hour or the congregation.
I consider it more like talking to somebody who decided not to sit in the back of the bus. People like you, Chris. People who try to get in business and then got fucked with, and then now you're standing back up. The fact that you bounced back up, thank God. But just you're the guy who said, you know what, this is not right. Just like all the other laws, it makes you re-examine everything probably that you see, with the immigration laws and the other stuff going around.
Right.
It's makes you pay attention. Yeah. It makes you realize that these things aren't wrote for your benefit. Dude. Nothing about these laws are here to help us. How many people actually read their medical law before they signed it? You know what I mean? Thank God Arizona's still medical. That's all I can say. And thank God we have voters that read the laws that they tried to pass in 16 and all this other garbage they're trying to throw at us now, because what will happen? We're going to end up like California, where you can't go to Butte County and smoke weed because it's illegal in a legal state. Right. And what are we doing? Nobody pays attention because no one listened the first time.
Well, I don't understand. That's interesting. You're saying that in the Arizona bill that they proposed in 16, and in California, I haven't been to California in a long time, that they actually prohibit it at a county municipal level. So even though it's legal, it could still be illegal depending on what county you're in.
Wonderful Prop 64 allows the individual municipalities to vote separate, vote outside what the voters vote.
In Illinois, you can say no business, but you can't say that it's illegal in your premises. So, if somebody comes in smoking a joint, that's okay. He didn't buy it here, though.
It's illegal to buy and sell it. You can grow it. I know that they're still growing there.
Yeah, that's
illegal to buy and sell.
Grow in Illinois, you can't restrict that either. So, if a medical patient wants to grow in 2020, they can grow. And the counties can't, or the municipalities can't say no, but they could say no to business. We aren't going to have a dispensary in our town because we're good. Yeah.
All those smart guys running the lead just makes so much sense.
Chris, we didn't talk about your second book, though.
My second book's called OneLife. It's the Chris Martin story. And I wrote the book because it was pretty much how do you say, a memoir to my family.
Yeah.
I thought I was looking at life. I thought with Crohn's, any amount of time going to prison was going to be pretty rough. Within 4 months of being in prison, I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure, my blood
Whoa.
pressure. I didn't have any of my medicine. They wouldn't give me anything that I was mandated by court to have. So technically, they sent me to Yuma because they said it was a medical yard, but it was more a gang yard. So you get less treatment that way.
I remember rallying and calling the prisons when you were needing medicine.
Thank you.
Did you ever receive any repercussions from that? Were you ever I know Craig Cecil gets fucked with whenever there's too many phone calls in his favor.
Yes.
Same thing with you.
They mess with you bad. Yeah. They'll come at 3 a.m. and kick your bed. Hey, Martin. Oh, just checking on you. Welfare check. We got a lot of calls. That's how that's their no blood pressure check or, check your blood sugars or anything like that. No, they just wake you up, make sure you're cool. When I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure, I didn't even get a water pill. Nothing. They wouldn't give me an EEG, an EKG, and test. Nothing. Zero. I didn't even have the guys.
We're going to wait for you to start stroking out or to have a heart attack. And then they'll administer some type of treatment. No preventative.
Nothing. Yeah. It's sad. I mean, look, I'm not one of those guys that's going to throw rocks at prison because I understand that's a necessary evil. I know that there are people that belong there. I've met them. I've seen them. There's some people that deserve to be there. Yeah. But when you're going in there for an addiction, a drinking problem, selling dope, stupid shit like that, and then you are thrown into this world that you know nothing about. My last book that I'm about to publish, it's a private prison book. It's really about opening the eyes for people who don't get arrested or have someone arrested. Because if you're not in that circle, you're never going to understand or relate to this without reading something that will kind of connect the dots. And that's what this book does. It really just connects the dots on the contractual side of prison, what it's like for all the small businesses and then the telephone companies, the commissary companies, and just how they treat us.
Rip you off. It's about the money. It's not about you. It's about making me rich. You're an animal. No, geez.
Well, cheap labor too.
How can I afford a $1.60 top ramen and a $3 phone call when I make 10 cents an hour? That's $8 every 2 weeks at 40 hours a week. Chris, how can that be?
Oh, Chris, did you and as a labor in fucking prison, part of this issue that we're talking about, I know some real big companies like goddamn military contract and people are just sewing ribbons all day. Were you any big companies? Were you ever supporting their shit? Were you like, this is fucked up? I'm making Macy's fucking dresses or some shit.
They had a cinder block company that was local, an Arizona big corporation cinder block company that they work out where we make bricks and those bricks build the prison. They have the water company. So like your local city water company, they have a private company that comes in and sets up. Prisons are self-sufficient. So if a war goes off and the town that's next to the prison gets bombed, that prison's still going to be functioning. It's got its own water system. They have their own power system. They have their own everything system. I mean, they can actually function if the grid goes down. Generators, the whole jazz. So they don't skip a beat in there. It doesn't matter. They're going to keep rocking and rolling. But the big companies I saw were like plastic companies, license plate companies, the state, the government, and it's all private processors.
Yeah.
It's a private contract. They come in, here's a 5-year deal, a 10-year deal. I mean, honestly, check this out. So there was a riot in the prison I was in the first year I was there. And it was stupid. It was 2 races fighting over drinking liquor and a football game. Something dumb. It jumped off to about 800 people. Now, I don't know what I could compare a riot to from inside that out on the streets to help people understand. But that's the scariest thing I've ever been in my life. Watching 800 people swing anything they can grab or try to stab each other over something that dumb blew my mind. It totally changed me.
Like this riot, is that in the yard, as they call it?
This is in Yuma. This is on the yard in Yuma prison, the medium yard in Cibola. Shit just goes off. I mean, we're talking tear gas and cops going in and out wearing suits and the whole thing. But what showed me that it was a prison after that is, you go on lockdown for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it is. We didn't lose any privileges like the telephone. You could still call home. So we just tore shit up. We just burned buildings down and people got stabbed.
Oh my God.
Me personally, but you're watching it. But once we get locked down, you can still use the phone. because you still pay $5, so they're still gonna make their money.
Fuck.
Instead of us going to the store and standing in line to pick up our commissary, because typically in Arizona, at Yuma, you'd have to stand outside for 2 hours waiting for your commissary in 200-degree weather. Well, now, because you're locked down after this riot, they deliver their commissary to them.
Fuck.
I'm cracking up laughing, going, wait a minute, like, wouldn't that be the first privilege you lose? Well, they can't. If they take that contract away and they don't deliver the commissary that's been paid for by the inmate, that's a breach of contract.
Man, that's just some private prison bullshit, period, man.
I was blown away. Like, these dudes are going to riot every week if they know you're going to deliver their candy to them. Holy shit. Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't got to get out of bed.
What are you teaching these guys in here? Like, man, keep the zooms, man. No, it just blows my mind to think of the business side of things in there and how it runs. And going to prison twice on weed in 22 years it's given me a lot of perspective. It's really opened my eyes up.
You know, I mean,
I'm done.
I hope the weed is now sufficiently legal to keep you out of prison.
Yeah. Well, honestly, my goal right now is once Arizona drops me off paper, I'm out. I want to go to a state that welcomes me, that likes my hard work and my products and my
perseverance. When did they finally drop you off paper?
I got 1.5 years left. They told me they told me when I signed my plea bargain, I'd only have to do 50% and I'd be done. But what they didn't tell me is that because I'm a security threat group, I'm on this gang thing, I don't qualify for early term. And nobody shared that with me at the time of signing my plea because
not even the lawyer.
Nobody. I would have sat in prison. I would have killed my number. I would have come home to freedom. We'd be over with this conversation right now. I'm not talking about it.
Well, this is another ramification of like the bullshit of this drug war. Like, I mean, just besides the time behind bars, and it's the time afterwards, where like you're involved big in, I know, in the hemp industry as well, like a consultant, and you're involved in business development. And I see you do speaking engagements. You have to ask every time you leave the state, probably, don't you?
I do. I have to get permission. It has to get approved. They can deny it at any time. I can't travel outside the country. I can't have a passport. That's
not freedom, man. You're not free still.
No.
He's got papers.
Yeah. No, God forbid I break a rule or commit a crime at this point. I'm just on the layaway plan.
You could be on YouTube, right? You're not this.
Well, honestly, that's why we went public. That's why we went so crazy with our case. Once we learned how crooked the cops were and how crooked the setup was and how bad everything was, I felt like, man, if I don't put this in writing, I'm going to disappear. Nobody's going to care or know why.
Like how many? Like if you look at charts of violent crimes, they've been going down for a while because criminals, well, you know, they're out there. I don't think that they know that they're so smart to not get caught. So as more surveillance has gone up, the numbers of violent crimes have gone down. They're like,
right.
If I wasn't on 9 different cameras right now, I would kill you. But I am.
Chris was low hanging fruit, man. He had a fucking business. I mean, that's not real policing. That's like, look.
And our county, Yavapai is infamous in this state. Sheila Polk is the county attorney who's run unopposed up there for 3 terms straight. It's the most crooked corruption and setup of cronyism and nepotism I've ever seen in my life.
Arizona.
I could write a whole book on that myself, just on how bad that
it'll probably keep you on papers until 2024.
Yeah,
right. I do worry. I mean, honestly, I've gone and sat behind her when she does her speeches around town and tries to commit to make people understand that, or make them think that pot's is addictive and all this crazy stuff. And I pick at her. I sit right behind her chair, letting her know, like, look, you arrested a dad, a father, a son, a brother, a businessman, not just some pothead. You know, I'm a normal guy, just like everyone in this room here. Yeah. I just want to do it legally. I just want to sit in my house and not worry about my doors getting kicked in.
Well, I told Tom earlier, I smoked a couple bowls before I came in, and we thought we were gonna be earlier. I was super high earlier, but I was like, "Hey, man, if I turn into a bat, it's because I smoked some of this Pike Place OG shit." So, I mean, just these people with their fear mongering is insane because all they're saying is you belong in jail. That's all they're saying. They're not saying why. They're not saying who you hurt.
Well, now you know why. Now you know why.
Well, it's all revenue, right?
They got a machine to feed.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but it has nothing to do with like protections and actually like saving, or
It has nothing to do with actually the public welfare, that you're helping people and you're producing less harm. That's why murder is illegal, because we were just all sitting here murdering each other. We wouldn't get anything done. And so it would be, and also think of all the harms that you've caused, to the problems of murdering people and other crimes where you actually take somebody's life, liberty, or property. And then the crime of smoking a joint. I mean, the whole point of those crimes were for public health. So there's a difference between somebody who's peddling black tar heroin or PCP or a drug that has severe, it's going to dissociate you. It's going to take you out of your body. You could even overdose on it, stuff like that. And it's unregulated.
Yeah. That
being a crime to peddle on, because people have an addictive tendency, especially the ones that are going to be the most likely to take those things. You're exploiting that. That's the crime. The whole and then to lump marijuana into that is kind of just stupid. I mean, it just shows they don't even look at what they're doing. They just said, "Oh, I'm going to sweep this in with there because the people doing it aren't me."
Well, I mean, with marijuana being one of the low-lying fruit, charges like that, they've been filling prisons for years. Yeah. And now they're realizing, like, wait a minute, they're catching on.
It was
people are realizing that we can't do that anymore. Right.
All they're saving is pizza's lives. I'm just saying.
That pizza died how he lived.
Cheesy.
Yeah. Hot and fresh.
So Chris, what go ahead, bro.
It was neat just being inside, because on the positive side, I even had CO3s that were buying our product. Once they read our case file and saw why we were there and got all the phone calls from you guys, my CO3 pulled me in the office and was like, "Martin, do you know that you're the topic of our briefing every Wednesday?"
Oh, shit.
Every Wednesday, your name comes up because of phone calls and letters and people from the outside. I said, then change your way. Fix it. Do this differently.
And maybe I shouldn't be here, Have you considered that what I was doing isn't a crime? It was just untaxed. Okay, I'll pay the effing tax,
Yeah. I got to tell you, it's pretty hard to convince people how tough you are when you're in there for candy bars.
Yeah.
I made candy bars. I was the munchie.
Stay away from that guy.
Watch out for him.
I was the munchie syndicate leader here for 8 years.
They got tough on sugar.
And now
whatever that means.
Shit.
Yeah, so Paw Puddy is one of my hemp lines. It's actually my son. He's the CEO. He's 14. He was 9 when he went on the marijuana show, but he created the pet line pretty much at the same time we had Hempful. So my dog got sick. He asked if we could give the dog Hempful products. And I said, yeah, but how are you going to convince everyone else to take Hempful products for their pets? He said, we'll put a pet label on it, and bam.
Wow, dude. Your 14-year-old done that? Like, he was like
at 9.
9. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's good shit. Hey, on the so I know when they were on the MJ show, it was a big who to do it, and I think I saw it one time, but is it available? Because I know they were talking about your story, like your wife was running the show while you were there, and they kind of like have your segment of like, he's currently serving time for this thing that we're making $1 million show for, the Shark Tank of fucking marijuana.
Yeah, they changed the whole concept of the show because of my story. When we first were picked up on season 2, it was supposed to be about entrepreneurial shit and getting into the industry, and we were going to help teach about that, but I think they knew about my case and just didn't want to tell me. They were kind of waiting for me to bring it up. And when we got approved to be on the show, I did this huge pitch and they chose us. She looked right at me, one of the producers, and she said, if you're chosen to be here, could you make it to Denver to be on the show? And that just let me know that she knew. They knew I was fighting a case. They knew I might not be here because of sentencing, but they still wanted our story. So once we got there, once I got sentenced and Andy got put on the show, the whole dynamic changed. They changed it to more about prison and people in prison for a plan, and how even minorities.
For like, and if that's the craziest effing thing about it. If you have good shit with this particular product, It's pure. It's like you've grown the flower well. You've kept it free from adulterants and bad chemicals, and it's beautiful. That's illegal? Are you kidding? How much of that kills you, and does it take you to like another plane of existence and make you a derelict? No, it does none of those things.
No, you know what does kill me though is all those companies that lobbied to keep all of us in prison and fight so hard to keep these laws in place are now in the game.
Yeah.
They're now allowed to make products and go make a profit. Not one of those companies that had a lobbyist that fought to keep us in jail and keep these rules should ever get to profit before any of these guys come home.
Oh, yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
That's what drives me crazy is seeing that shit. When I look over and I see a company like CVS or these big corporations that can now house these products and they can bank with no banking issues whatsoever.
Oh, God.
They were the same companies fighting my company 8 years ago. We didn't deserve to be on the
giving out like chiclets, prescriptions for opioids 20 years ago. You know, I'll fill your prescription. Yeah.
Well, that's why this is important. We're just trying to keep the stories alive. No one else is telling this shit. You know, this is all real history stuff.
Hey, well, you can only tell it to so many people because of the shadow ban. It's like, shh.
Right.
Corner.
Hey, I tell you what, you Google Mickey 420, you'll find a lot of weed shit, though. I'm just saying.
Yeah, so if you guys want to see the book, it's on Amazon too. It's called OneLife, the Chris Martin story. And literally, I wrote it to my family saying goodbye. I thought I wasn't going to come home. I thought I was going to die in prison just because of my illness. Or, I mean, when you go to prison, very rarely do you come out early. You usually stay for an extended time. They trick you into that one way or another, however it goes. But the book just kind of helped me piece everything together and get into a little bit more detail than I could in 90 minutes on the doco.
Especially when you feel like you're a sick man behind bars and it's not sanitary. Yeah, man. Hey, man, we appreciate you just coming out here and sharing your story and how fucked up it is. Is there anything you want to plug before we take off and we got to go on to our daily shit.
Do your real jobs now that I drove it out all day for you.
I've been trying to avoid my real job. My real job just keeps calling. And I'm like, all right, I'm getting to it. Jiminy Christmas. Yeah.
No, I just appreciate you guys. I really do. I appreciate the fact that there's a platform out here and there's gaining, more platforms like this for people to be able to come out and speak and tell their story. Because honestly, you can't make this shit up. Nobody would believe it if you didn't see it in a movie or in a book. So that's why we did it. You're not going to believe it. This stuff is still happening every day to people. We've got to come together. Quit voting for bullshit laws that you didn't read. Please read them. Like, I lost my right to vote when I was 18. I've watched dead people vote more than me. Use your brain. Walk in that thing and vote and read it when you vote. You know what I mean? Because some of us end up the victim of those bullshit votes.
And next time when they put another ballot to Arizona for adult use, you make sure they do what Illinois did and get that social equity shit, how we defined it, because you would be like
the number one contender.
Yeah, number one contender for getting a vertically integrated cannabis company.
Yeah.
Well, that's crazy. The only initiatives we get out here are wrote by the people running the dispensaries because they're the ones that take their money and put it into it. So like right now, the ADA just launched another initiative where they want, we're going to give you home grow of 6 plants, but you can't have over an ounce.
That doesn't make any sense.
What are we doing? Didn't we just
want me to, that's like a sixth of a plant. Well, let's say that you're growing indoor, kind of what you're doing. You get a quarter pound from the plant. You'd have to,
you know what I mean?
Throw the rest of it away. What the fuck?
It's kind of like the hemp industry stating that the DEA needs to be the one testing your shit and hauling your plants off. I mean, come on.
That's another hour right there, dude.
No remediation. We're just going to arrest all these farmers. God.
Farmer, yeah. What my next T-shirt is 0.3 THC equals farmer to felon. I mean, this is ridiculous. That's all it's doing.
If you look at the 0.3 history in the 70s, it literally says an arbitrary number. Arbitrary. And then if you look at what Dr. Ethan Russo, and we did email him. He seemed like he was interested in coming on the show, but he's got to be busy. I'm busy. We'll follow back up with him and try to have him on the show to 3 classes of cannabis that he has. And it's like basically the high THC shit and then the high CBD shit. Then those are like ratios. So if you know the genetics that you're growing, that's what you were growing,
Well, and who can control Mother Nature? Who can look over and say, "Hey, plant,
Come on,
I dare you"?
Like, I mean, what we've done with agriculture is amazing, and like, same with the cannabis plant. I'm sure the cannabis plant was nurtured over generations by humans, just like we nurtured corn or apples or anything like that. But just to trivialize it and to say that it's not our grandfather's weed or anything like that is just so wrong. It's just lies.
It's erroneous. Yeah.
More lies.
Yeah.
Right.
Just, I mean, again, what we talked about, we had a farmer, Tom, who's a very big hemp farmer. And, the thing we got to convey, what they're trying to do with the lobbyists and shit is define that marijuana light versus marijuana good time. It's all marijuana, but one's used for my back and the other one's used because it's Friday night. And then sometimes they're mixed the same way. People are still wrapping their head around that too, though. It's like, just because I can smoke a high THC, I mean, I see people who are literally sick who can dab the fuck out of me, just like the size of a quarter. And I'm like, I will die if I do that. And they're still walking.
You won't die.
Yeah, you're right. I will never die.
You'll just feel like it. Yeah.
Yeah. But the fact that they can consume that much and walk around normal, it's because they have real shit going on that this thing helps them with. And that's what people need to wrap their heads around is this plant is not only helpful, it's not only a good time, but also it has never killed anybody. It's never, let's let the consumer decide what level they want to be at when they voluntarily consume this product.
Right. Absolutely, I agree 1,000%. Especially when you got 500,000 people dying from alcohol and tobacco every year. Like, come on, man.
All right, Chris. Thank you so much for joining us, and Miggy, it was great to see you again. And we will be back next Sunday with another Activist Hour.